Hello, hello, my beautiful Claytriots. How are you doing this fine Saturday day? Saturday morning, I suppose. I'm streaming to you live from sunny St. Louis, Missouri. Uh, yeah, today's pretty good day out. Pretty good day out. Later, me and my wife are gonna go watch a movie. We're gonna go see Super Mario Galaxy. You know, and get some lunch too, so that should be fun. But yeah, I guess that's an inside activity, so I guess we'll be wasting the good day. But you know what? It's fine. It's fine. So, since the last time you saw me, this is the personal news section of the broadcast. Since the last time you saw me, what did I do? I played more Slay the Spire. I watched some more Stargate, but I went outside. I got a big old, 20-foot ladder. I cleared a bunch of vines that had been growing on the side of our house. So, um, you know, it was kind of scary. I'm not, I don't really it's not like I'm really afraid of heights. I obviously, like, I think like most people, when I look down, I, get that typical feeling or whatever of like your heart starts racing or whatever. But as long as I'm not looking down, I'm generally fine. But I got most of them cleared. The rest of them I'm probably gonna have to have, an expert or someone who's more, who does going up super high for a living, come out and do that. So that was the main, I guess, accomplishment of yesterday. And then yeah, went to sleep, woke up, made some coffee, clipped my videos from yesterday, and came straight here to be with you, the viewer. And I hope that you are ready for a very casual stream. I didn't feel like going through a whole bunch of clips or a whole bunch of like news of the day stuff. To be honest, I didn't really see a ton when I woke up this morning that seemed like it was urgent or needed coverage. So let me just make sure I'm not lying real quick. But I mean, there was the Eric Swalwell stuff, but uh, I mean, yeah, that was probably about it. So anyway, so today I figured what I was gonna do was just watch uh like a I don't know if I would call this like an educational stream or whatever, but I just want to watch a long form video of this interview between Hasan and Ilhan. Hasan has been going on a tear lately. He's been in the media all over the place, traveling all over. You know, really putting a lot of effort into trying to get this new wave of Democratic Party politics, get the ball rolling, like kind of picking up where Bernie left off, and really trying to gain momentum and power in this in the current situation that we're living in. So I think he's doing a really good job with all that. So this is just going to be like a 45-minute interview with Ilhan. I don't really think Hasan is the best interviewer, to be honest, a lot of the times, because I don't think he really, well, if he prepares, he's usually pretty okay. But sometimes I think that he can get a little, if it's especially short interviews, he has a hard time staying focused. And I think he has like ADHD or whatever, but like he has a hard time staying focused on the trying to get like as much across in a short amount of time as possible. But since this is a 45-minute one, I think that it'll probably be, a lot more casual and fun and better. But anyway, yeah, so that's what we're going to be watching slash listening to, and that's what I'll be commentating on occasionally. And then the main thing that you'll be seeing, though, is I'm trying to beat Ascension 13 right now in Slay the Spire, with the Silent. I've been, slowly working my way up. I haven't had a ton of trouble. 12, I was having a hard time getting a run going, but yeah, and if I don't beat it, like I'll probably be out of here just after this video if I had to guess. So if I don't get it, I don't get it. But that's what I'm gonna be trying to do in the next like hour and a half or 2 hours or so. So anyway, that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm watching the Stunlock channel. I think this is just a fan channel that clips Hasan stuff, but if they have the full interview, that's really all I wanted. So okay, let's go ahead and let it go.
Hasan and Ilhan Omar in the building. What are you doing in Los Angeles?
Just visiting.
Oh, just chilling, just
coming to hang
visiting.
out with you.
Okay, that's a lie
hope
because
that's okay.
I know you're hanging out with the Paw Johns as well.
Yes.
I've heard
Yes, I did
because
see
I was
them.
with them this morning.
That's what they told me.
Yeah, I was doing a piece with John Lovett.
Okay.
I'm getting attacked.
Yeah, you're so controversial.
Yeah, I'm
What
getting
did you
attacked
do?
nonstop.
What did you do?
What have I? I mean,
I mean, she's pretty familiar with getting attacked for slanderous smears from the media, particularly because she's Muslim and she had the audacity to criticize Israel, even way back before October 7th. And so, yeah, it's crazy to think that like there was a time where she was literally censured, like the Democratic Party censured her because she said like what when it comes to Israel, follow the money or something is what she said, I think. And obviously she was talking about the Israel, big spending, like all of the PACs, APAC, and all that spending on the Democratic Party's like primaries and stuff. And she was complaining about that. And then she got censured for that. I can't even imagine, like they wouldn't even be able to do that at this point in time, considering how much the conversation has changed, which is really a testament to like, we need to remember like there has been a sea change here. Like the entire system, the entire perspective of Israel has changed irrevocably. Like, so, I don't know. That's something to keep in mind as well.
I've done it's just, you know how it is.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
You went to Cuba. How dare you?
Well, that's true. Apparently your daughter was there as well, but
how dare
I did not see her because I was.
How can you be a good person and try to help people?
You should ask her does she condemn her daughter?
I know.
Did you guys see that crazy thing where it was, I think when at Abdul Al-Sayed's like speech or wherever he was campaigning or whatever, and Hassan was standing right next to him, and an reporter literally asked Abdul Al-Sayed, do you condemn Hassan Piker or whatever? And Hassan's standing like right next to him, and he's like, what? Like, I'm right here, dude. That was funny.
It is messed up. I think a lot of people get very mad. I've begun to realize that it isn't even like ideological for a lot of people. For many it is. But for a lot of people, it's also just like, because they're not doing anything, when they see someone doing anything, anything at all, they go, oh, there's got to be a sinister purpose behind this, an ulterior motive.
Well, it also makes them feel bad for not doing anything. A lot of Americans are very bad when it comes to civics or like your duty as a citizen, trying to better your community, trying to better your country, engaging in actual acts of patriotism or whatever. And it really makes some people feel really bad about themselves, and so they feel a lot better when they can make fun of or diminish or criticize other people who do engage in actual actions, to try and better society. It makes them feel a little bit better if they can like just trash talk them or whatever. It's not that dissimilar to just like an average like internet troll mentality sort of.
And I'm gonna do my very best to disparage it.
Well, it's also really weird to say here in America we have freedom and then to limit people's ability to go freely where they want.
Yeah, well,
and advocate freely for what they want.
Also, here, let's bring this mic closer to you because
the death and devastation people were experiencing is what you were there to document and bring light to, what our government is doing.
Yeah, exactly. Which, a lot of people have been yelling about. Premier Jayapal also went recently. She's just trying to be like me.
Jonathan Jackson.
She's just trying to be like me. It's not a big deal. Whatever.
Actually went with Pramila maybe 2.5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were in Havana.
It's beautiful. It's definitely gotten, at least according to what Corbin was telling me, because he was there as well on our trip. And he was saying that it's gotten significantly worse over the years because what a lot of people don't know is that the oil embargo.
I don't know if this is the stun locked person or what, but the slow zoom thing, I'm not a big fan of.
Actually started in 2019. It didn't actually, it worsened in the last couple of months where Trump just came out and was like, Mexico and Canada are no longer allowed to send oil. No country is allowed to send oil to Cuba at all. But the secondary sanctions started in 2019. which were mysteriously never reversed because there was a president between.
That's true.
Yeah.
We
who-
worked really hard to try to get him to
Yeah.
reverse. But
Genocide Joe, that'll be his legacy, is the one who did not reverse any of the terrible things that Trump did and Trump won. Just like letting the JCPOA just die, which is what led us into this current conflict with Iran. Well, the Cuba stuff. I'm trying to think. There's some other stuff that he failed to get back on track after Trump destroyed. But yeah, I don't know. That'll definitely be part of his terrible, terrible legacy as he goes down as one of the worst presidents of all time.
I mean, that now I think people have to understand that the blockade is to the point of like,
Oh,
my God,
this is a special.
humanitarian catastrophe.
This is a special gift for you.
Okay.
It's a room
Okay.
temperature.
How
a
do
room-
you know?
It's a room temperature pure leaf iced tea.
Okay, this is like very, very embargoed information that I.
Does she like that? Dude, okay. Gold leaf iced tea is some of the most trash tea I've ever tasted. I cannot stand it, man. Especially sweetened. Oh, God, it's like ungodly sweet. That's just me though. I'm sure there's lots of people out there that like it. I'm not gonna hate on you if you like it, but but I like real tea. If I'm gonna have tea, I like it to have a little bit of bitterness to it.
I did my research.
Wow. Okay.
I did my research.
Did you call one of my kids?
What makes you say that?
Because I don't know even if my staff would give you this information.
specifically-
you have to
it's-
either like talk to my husband or my kids to
It's
get
specifically room temperature.
or secretly find who my best friends are. to know
Yeah,
this.
I don't know. I just
Oh my God.
This is like it's like Hot Ones. Sean Evans.
Now all of the Daily Mails and the New York Post are gonna try to get
They were like
who your
expensive.
sources are so
Yeah.
they can get more information on me. This
Yeah.
is dangerous.
What? I did my research ahead of time. What do you mean? I'm a little bit of a simp. It is what it is. Yeah, I had to pull a little bit of a Nardwuar. Do you know Nardwuar, the human serviette, the goofy Canadian guy who interviews all these musicians?
No.
He's very famous. He'll do like deep dives into the people that he's interviewing, and he'll be like, when you were in third grade, this is what happened, and then the person that he's interviewing will
No
be
way.
like, oh my God.
Adam Friedland he did that with what was it, Sneeko or something when he had him on. Was it Sneeko? I can't remember. I always get those like manosphere adjacent people, or maybe it's Aiden Ross. No, it was oh man. I always get all of those like those people confused with each other. It was some dude. I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't either of those two, I think. I think it was I can't remember. I'll have to go go back and look.
No, I didn't. I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he always goes, you're, whatever, insert musician. I'm supposed to know. And yeah, you're Ilhan Omar. I'm supposed to know. Okay. Well, in any case, what were we talking about? We were talking about devastation in Cuba and the Biden administration not really doing anything to reverse that. Speaking of Biden administration's refusal to reverse certain decisions.
Right.
Let's get right into it. Iran. Obviously, I have my criticisms of Barack Obama, and I've been very forthcoming with that. But there were two signature accomplishments, foreign policy accomplishments of the Obama administration. One of them was the JCPOA, a multilateral agreement that brought in not only European allies but also China and Russia to control the Iranian uranium enrichment program in exchange for sanctions relief. And it was roundly criticized by even Democrats as well, including Chuck.
The Warhawks, the entire foreign policy establishment of America, they hated the JCPOA. And it was... It's been proven, I guess, at this point, though, that like the only way you're going to actually be able to influence Iran in this manner is through negotiations. Like we tried doing the entire military actions at this point and completely failed to get rid of the enrichment or whatever. We completely failed at like dismantling their ballistic missile programs. Like, you know, the only, so it turns out that negotiating with Iran as equals, as not like some you know, some middle power to be just like destabilized and messed with. It turns out that actually negotiating with them as equals was the only way to ever achieve that goal in the first place. So Obama, I guess, was kind of just on one at that time. Now, obviously, the foreign policy establishment wanted to go to war with Iran no matter what, and that's exactly why they didn't want to enter the JCPOA. But I think that now that we've seen the limits of what America can do from a military perspective, they might have to just like, you know, they might have to just go with peaceful negotiations at this point, because it doesn't really feel like America has any other options besides diplomatic negotiations.
Schumer, right, who was one of the main critics on the Democratic Party side, and Schumer. Donald Trump ripped it apart.
Mm-hmm. What was the other policy accomplishment?
Well, the other one was Cuba normalization.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, those were his like two foreign policy achievements that I thought were pretty good. I actually literally asked the Cubans when I was there, like, what do you think about that? And they were like, we don't know why he did that. To this day, like they're like, we don't know what motivated
I don't know either.
The Obama administration to
sometimes I'm really confused about Obama, because his instincts and everything was always to be like neoliberal as hell. And like everything about him was like super neoliberal. Like, except for obviously when he was campaigning, he like pretended to be progressive in order to win, but he was very, very much neoliberal on everything, except for those couple things that he did well. And yeah, I always wonder like maybe some sort of like activist somewhere stuck something in his brain back before he was completely corrupted by, even though, I mean, to be fair, I think he was always kind of, I think he was always probably aligned with the establishment, just kind of getting, because he came, I think, from some progressive activism, but I think that it seemed more like a tool to ladder climb to me than actual values. But he did have a couple things that he did that I was just like, yeah, very surprised that he actually did those good things.
Come out of nowhere to be like, we're going to normalize relations with Cuba.
Yeah, I mean, I remember meeting.
But like most good things in America, if you do anything good, the next president will come in and immediately dismantle it. We're not allowed to have good things here.
Artists and small business owners who were really proud of the fact that was done, and really devastated.
Yeah.
When the Biden administration didn't work to follow suit.
Yeah. Well, the last day when he was getting out of office, he released the sanctions on Cuba for one day, which was almost insult. Mm-hmm. I think more insulting than anything else. But in any case,
they were telling us for like a year and a half that it was going to happen this week.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
The Cuban one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the administration would tell us it, this week. Especially when we came back from Cuba. Before we went to Cuba, we actually went and we met. Elizabeth Warren was also in that meeting, Chaya Paul, myself, Mark Bocan. We met with Jake Sullivan, and he told us that was something that they were seriously looking at, and they just kept saying, we're working on it, we're working on it, we're working on it. And it was really disheartening to see that work get done the day before, only for Trump to get rid of it.
Yeah. It is devastating.
Because even if he did it right after the election, it would have at least given the Cuban people, a couple of months.
But even then, it's what's frustrating about it is that, from what I understand, one of the main things the Cuban government needs is stability. Like the sanctions relief, if it's on borrowed time, mm-hmm. is not going to lead to the stability necessary for them to rebuild their infrastructure and to allow there to be free commerce in the country. Because one thing that I was stressed about one thing that was constantly reiterated to me is the idea that the Cuban government is not looking for handouts. I mean, they appreciate the
this isn't
humanitarian
going well.
aid,
I'm gonna start over.
but they just simply want to be able to exist as a sovereign country without, you know, American sanctions. And it's virtually impossible for them to take out loans, for example, to establish any new projects,
to do any sort of trade.
or even reform their economy.
Yeah.
Because there has been some conversations about economic reform internally within the party. And it's virtually impossible for them to adequately
And
reform their
they
economy.
did actually do a huge package of economic reforms when Raul took over. Before this current
First name basis.
before this current administration, and this current administration, like, people were actually excited for it because they knew that there were these reforms. They were going to expand on these reforms.
Well, and they probably thought that by, you know, because these reforms, okay, they're to essentially, my understanding is they are to essentially allow some of their industries to have free market economies or whatever. I think they would maintain national control over certain sectors, their biggest sectors, but allow free markets under, like, in certain other sectors. And that would be very similar to like how China runs their country as like a state capitalist country, where they maintain complete control over key sectors of their economy, and they never allow private industry to get strong enough that it could control their government or whatever, right? So I think that was kind of the direction that Cuba was going to go, and they probably thought that they were going to get, like, they thought probably a little naively that if they moved towards a capitalist model in some regard, that America would see that and be like, oh, okay, we'll reduce some of the sanctions, as opposed to how America always sees things like this, is that if you capitulate even slightly to their demands, they ramp up the pressure tenfold, right? So that's kind of, I think, probably what happened. So yeah, you should never capitulate to America's demands, or else America will make your life 1,000 times worse than it already has. That's my recommendation to people out there.
So you had when the Obama deal sort of happened, there was an influx of small business owners. There were a lot of really interesting restaurants that were stood up. There were a lot of artists that were ready to travel, to be able to share their music with the outside world. And when Trump came in and he put the sanctions back on and designated them as a country that supports terrorism,
Yeah, state sponsor of terror.
a state sponsor of terrorism, that meant everything was gone.
Yeah.
Right? You couldn't. It limited the number
This
of
was bad again.
tourists
I'm
that could
starting
come
over.
in, and huge part of their economy, because it is a beautiful country, relies on having tourism. You know, they have a huge population that's very young, that's very energetic. So it put a damper on the kind of dreams that they were starting to foster. And now, even with this administration, you're seeing those sanctions expand with the complete oil embargo, and that means there isn't enough fuel that the Cuban people can actually utilize. But also, to me, what is even more heartbreaking is that we are limiting their ability to do good in the world.
Yeah.
Cubans export and train so many doctors and nurses
Yeah.
that
And we're
help
punishing them for that.
countries with the poorest health infrastructure.
Yeah.
And we are saying to those countries, you can no longer take in Cuban doctors.
Yeah. Jamaica just released their Cuban
Yeah.
medical mission.
Yeah.
And I talked to
This is one of the most blatantly, like, if you have a hard time ever seeing, like, if you're very much entrenched in American propaganda or whatever, we don't ever really talk, like, barely anybody ever talks about this. But yes, America will literally, like, they want Cuba to fail so badly that they are they are, like, I would say actively, potentially even enjoying making other countries suffer by limiting access to Cuban doctors. And it's just like the most blatantly evil thing. Like, why are you going to force other countries to not get free medical care from Cuba, so that both that country's people have to suffer, like the people who are, importing doctors from Cuba, that country has to suffer, but then also the Cuban people who have their incredible medical staff and teams as like world-renowned doctors, they also have to suffer because they can no longer use their their knowledge as a service to then make money for Cuba. Like it's like, I don't know. And a lot of it isn't even profiting off of it. A lot of it is just like goodwill missions, or if you want to think about it as soft power initiatives or whatever like that. But yeah,
To
it's evil.
the
Evil,
healthcare
evil.
professional that's in charge of the medical missions. I'd interviewed him prior when Marco Rubio had first made this announcement
Yeah.
a year ago. And he told me that 100% of coverage is offered by Cuban doctors
Right.
and in areas of dire need in Jamaica. So
Yeah.
a lot of people in Jamaica, especially in underserved areas, are just never going to see a doctor again.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the Caribbean
Yeah.
nations are capitulating, right, to this demand by Trump and Rubio. Mexico is actually, I think, one of the few countries that are saying no,
Yeah.
which is promising because I don't think that it is. I don't think it is normal for the United States to make these kind of demands on these countries that really, desperately need the help and support that they can get in, strengthening their infrastructure.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself why. Why is America doing all of this right now? What has changed, right? What is changing that is making America do all of these things that it has, traditionally somewhat done, but has backed off of its worst impulses from? Like, what is making it do it now? And the thing that I would point to is we are entering a new era of America imperial decline, where America the people at the top somewhat understand this, but also kind of don't at the same time. But they realize that America's time as the sole superpower is coming to an end. China is rising. China is already able to defeat us militarily. Like, there's no doubt about it. At least in a foreign war, if we were to invade them, they would be able to defeat us handily, right? So there's just a realization, I think, that America's power is declining, and as a part of that decline, because of just the general fascist character of America and its founding, there's going to be a lot of lashing out, even more lashing out than I would say most, other empires. Like, I think that our empire will be potentially even worse in terms of, well, also with the amount of military power that we do have across the entire world, like the entire globe. There's just going to be a lot of lashing out and a lot of just making everybody's lives worth as we go through that decline. So
Structure, but it's also, I think, just a severe level of bullying when someone tells you who can come into your country to provide healthcare assistance, and yeah, it's wrong and disgusting in so many ways.
One of the things that I was so frustrated
Also,
about.
my pediatrician when I was a kid was Cuba trained.
Oh, wow.
So a part of me always loved the fact that even in Somalia, as kids, we had a doctor that was trained in Cuba who provided excellent pediatric care to
That's
us.
sick.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was very frustrated by is also the fact that, like, not only is the blockade invisible in many respects, I mean, it becomes very visible when you see the impact of it, right? The shortages, the rationing, the lack of medicine available in pharmacies because there's no gas to transport the medication.
Yeah.
And the refrigeration obviously needs electricity, and the grid falls apart with regular frequency, 30-hour-long blackouts and whatnot.
Yeah.
But also the fact that, like, Americans are just totally oblivious to it.
Yeah.
And I think if we were to ask Americans by referendum, like, do you think it's appropriate for us to just, like, starve this country 90 miles off our coastline? They'd be like, no.
Yeah.
It's because it's so unbelievably cruel. and so unnecessary. These arbitrary restrictions.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, depending on how it's worded, I'm sure you could get the majority of Americans to say that we shouldn't be doing that, but I think the vast majority of Americans would say I don't know or I don't care because we are a very selfish nation that is generally only focused on the individual wants and needs of individual Americans, and we don't necessarily care that much about what's going on in what we're doing in other places, as long as we don't feel like it's negatively impacting us. So.
And it's every time we've had a catastrophe happen here in the United States, they've always asked to help. They've always offered to send us help, and that just shows you the heart that the Cuban.
Well, and we declined them. I think for maybe Katrina or something. I can't remember. They offered help one time, and I just know I thought like we straight up said no. We don't want your doctors coming over here or whatever. Like we're even willing to let our people suffer in order to punish Cuba. Like if that shows you the extent of the barbarity and brutality of our nation.
People have and their generosity and their desire to do good in the world.
Yeah, they offered 1,500 doctors after Katrina, and George W. Bush refused.
Yep, said no.
Yeah. And inclling like medical aid as well. It's so
That's what
ridiculous.
I thought, but I couldn't remember.
That's how
for
much
sure.
You guys were there actually when the blackout happened that ended up killing like 98 people or something, Isra told me.
No, I think that number was incorrect. The Cuban Health Ministry then
Was it
corrected the
smaller?
record. I'm not sure exactly what the number was, but there was definitely there was a big blackout that took place while we were there.
Yeah.
And I mean there were blackouts the entire time. Like it's a much longer process than I thought. I grew up in Turkey. I'm used to blackouts. And then when I came to America, I forgot that blackouts happen all the time.
That is the thing, yeah.
Yeah, but the blackouts in Cuba were unlike anything else because even like the electricity in the city infrastructure would collapse.
Right.
So there were no traffic lights, no lights whatsoever, just pitch black darkness walking through the streets. And then
Possibly
every now and then,
traffic accidents and stuff like that.
Oh my God, wow.
well, there's not that many cars on the road anyway.
Right,
So, but yeah, they're.
But their resilience, can we talk about their adaptability and resilience though?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like you walk through these pitch black neighborhoods, these streets.
We're gonna go for this one. I don't know if this is a good idea, but I'm going for it. I should have probably gone the other way.
And then you see a little
Yes,
light.
this boss.
And there's just a bunch of people playing dominoes with like a phone light, you know, and they're even I mentioned that, and people were like, "Oh, he's saying Cubans enjoy being in no electricity." It's like it's just,
No.
people are so ridiculous.
No. One of my friends has this one person play that she does in Minneapolis. And I think it's called like being a child in war playing with balloons. Because when you are in those kind of environments, I think like people who read about it or watch movies, all they think about is just the harshness of the situation. But the human capacity is just to find one joyful thing to do.
Yeah.
That, keeps you light, even if bombs are dropping on you. And that's what her play is about. And it's a beautiful play. But like, that's what I hear when you say, that people are playing music or drumming
One more
or,
turn.
Dancing or doing flips.
Yeah.
It's just they're
That's
trying
not
to
gonna
find a way to
happen.
entertain themselves because
Everybody's
the
got
pain is too much.
Portable
Whatever.
speakers. They were blasting music from portable speakers everywhere. That was very interesting. Yeah.
Did you see Kneecap? Kneecap was there.
Yeah, I brought them there.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know them.
Yeah.
He brought them there. I think he means that he asked them to come. I think he invited them. But I was like, "What? You didn't bring them there? A plane brought you there." What?
Okay, I'm a fan.
When we were doing, they'll love to hear that.
Yeah.
When
Isra met them and told them, and they recorded a little video for me.
oh
So
hell
it's
yeah,
really cool.
when we were planning this trip out with Progressive International, I was like, I was reaching out to a bunch of my friends, celebrities and the like, to see who would be down, and I was like, I know exactly who would definitely come.
Nice.
And I hit up their manager Daniel, who's a fascinating figure. He's actually was in the UN for Ireland for the longest time. He's done a bunch of stuff with the Palestinian girls team as well, where they came and did a exhibition match
Yeah.
in Ireland. I hit him up and I was like, yo, I think you guys would really enjoy, like, we're going to go to Cuba. I think this is like right up your alley. And he was like, bet.
Nice.
Immediately. He's like, yep, we're down. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I know one of their quotes was solidarity is in the bones of the Irish people, and that's
It's
why we're
true.
here. Yeah,
It's
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Irish people are, I as I like to say, the coolest white people I ever met in my life.
My husband is of Irish heritage, so he'd love to hear that.
Irish Americans are a little different. Irish
Okay, you're
Americans,
taking it back. I see.
Irish Americans are a little different. And
That's funny. That's funny. The Irish American, yeah, Irish Americans are built different. The actual, well, I think there's a lot of actually. So I live kind of close to some, Irish parts of St. Louis or whatever, and they have an Irish parade or whatever. And I always, like, the times that I've gone, I've always seen lots of pro-Palestine and like we want full liberation from British occupation, like basically like Northern Ireland should like reunification sort of stuff or whatever, like kick the Brits out. Like, so I see a lot of like emancipatory stuff around in I guess my area, but that might just be specifically for those like Irish parades. I assume that there's plenty of like Irish American, like, I don't know, typical expat ideology or whatever, where they're just completely in their own little world. But
And the Irish folks would say that too.
Yeah,
Some of them could be cool. Some of them could be cool,
yeah.
but they are way too Americanized for the most
Diaspora
part.
is always more wretched than.
Oh no! Don't even get me started. But what I was gonna say is, as far as like not going back to the previous formation with the JCPOA under the Biden administration, what do you think that was about? Because like I haven't heard from a lot of prominent Democrats since Donald Trump came into office. I rarely ever hear, even in the first term, that the JCPOA was a positive thing. It was a move in the positive direction. And even now, when Democrats, from a partisan perspective, that might want to attack Donald Trump to be like, see, we did this better than you did. Like, this has been a spectacular quagmire
that's a good question
that you got us into alongside Israel. They rarely ever mention Barack Obama's JCPOA, even though Barack Obama is probably the most popular, Democrat alive right
well,
now.
it just shows that they don't actually want the Democrats never wanted the JCPOA, like generally, because, or like the neoliberal establishment didn't want it. So even now they find themselves incapable of actually being like, oh, it actually was negotiations. Yeah, see, Obama did it right. Negotiating with Iran was the only option to prevent nuclear enrichment or whatever. Like, yeah, it is strange that they are so opposed to peace and so opposed to actual diplomatic negotiations with Iran as equals. Like, they're so opposed to that they're literally unwilling to just capitalize completely off of the like obvious victory of like, or the obvious like messaging victory that would give. Man, that is crazy.
No,
Yeah.
That's a good
why do you think
question.
that is?
Well, I think his vice president and then president Joe Biden was against it.
Yeah.
And so the understanding after the Trump administration, when Biden got elected, was that he was going to do something different. And I don't know why we never got to what that different thing was, because nothing really happened that was structural in any kind of way that Democrats could rally around. So you still had the Pelosi's of the Democratic Party that kept holding on to the deal Obama reached with the Iranians, and then you had other Democrats like the Schumer wing of our party that was like, please, let's not talk about this because we don't want that deal. And so, and one thing that also people don't often talk about is the MOU that got us the $3.8 billion guarantee yearly to Israel, was part of the selling point for the Democrats that eventually ended up supporting the JCPOA. So it's not that it didn't come with a headache for our party to contend with. It came with this blanket check to Israel.
So I guess that's how they got it across the finish line. I was kind of wondering about like, because that does seem so against the neoliberal like desires to get into the JCPOA, that I was kind of wondering how it passed. And I guess a part of that was just giving more unlimited money to Israel's apartheid system. So
that has
3.8 a year,
3.8 annually. Yeah. That has allowed for us to be complacent in genocide, that has allowed for us to be dragged into war with Iran, that has allowed for the capitulation of some of these Middle Eastern countries with Israel. So yes, there was a good thing that came from it for a little bit, and eventually it led to the devastation we're watching right now. But it also was something that allowed for the genocide in Gaza, and guaranteed them this impunity, the impunity that we provide to Israel forever.
So let's talk about that, because AOC recently came out after having a conversation with New York DSA and said that she's now in favor of no aid or no financial aid to Israeli weapons purchases. This has now officially become the new litmus test for a lot of rising stars in the party that want to prove their progressive bona fides.
There's no such thing as defensive arms, okay, people. There isn't. The only reason that they want defensive arms, or quote unquote defensive arms, is it is just to protect them and give them impunity for their ability to wage endless genocidal actions on all of their neighbors. Like that is what defensive arms enable, and that's why they should not be allowed.
One, why do you think the offensive defensive restriction, in your own words, is inconsequential, or why do you not make a difference between the two? And then two, do you feel like this gives us an opportunity to push for even more?
Yeah, for me, I've always looked at it as military support on behalf of the American taxpayer is military support on behalf of the American taxpayer. To me, whether I give you weapons to defend yourself or weapons to kill that might allow you to commit a genocide, that might give you an impunity throughout the genocide that you chose to carry out. That's, to me, that's the same. And it never really made any sense to me where somebody could say, I'm okay in not giving you money to carry out a war, but I'm okay with providing the immunity, which is what the defense funding allows for you to carry out your war of choice, because you don't have to worry about anything ever happening to you. You can carry out a war without any consequence.
I said before that Israel will only ever accept peace if it's at the end of a barrel of a gun. Like they are brutal, barbaric, primitive people. Okay. And I always say it's not because they're Jews, it's because they were founded in the ideology of fascism. And so the only way that they will ever accept peace is if they are, forced into it at the barrel of a gun. So like, that's why I always say, instead of just like not sending money to them, we should be sanctioning them. Number one, like the entire country should be cut off from global markets. But then number two, we should be invading them, and we should be sending our troops in to dismantle their apartheid system brick by brick. And we can do a multinational coalition for that if we want. If all of the EU and everybody wants to get in on it, we can all just go in there. We will. There's no way that they will obviously be able to defend against the entire world. go in there, dismantle their apartheid system brick by brick, just like we did with the Nazis, and then force them to live in harmony with all of their neighbors. And that, like I said, that's what we did with the Nazis. It worked then. I think that there's not going to be an internal force inside of Israel that's going to save them. It's going to, I think, have to be external, if I had to guess. At the very least, if we stop supporting them and we sanction them and, force the people of Israel into destitution, like poverty, essentially, in order, they have to choose between either living in poverty indefinitely and going to war constantly with all of their neighbors. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of them would still choose to suffer and live in poverty and still go to war with all of their neighbors. However, I think eventually it would sink in that that their lives are going to suck until they actually decide to finally make peace with their neighbors. So anyway, that's my personal opinion on the matter.
Consequences to yourself or to your people.
Yeah.
And that's what essentially the argument that somebody's making, that they're okay for Israel to kill people, innocent people, but they're not okay with anybody reciprocating or there being any consequences.
Defense spending is also fungible. At the end of the day, every dollar that they're not spending on Tamir interceptors, they can spend on offensive weaponry. That's number one. And number two, as you also correctly pointed to, there's a level of impunity that allows Israel to be so unrestrained when they know that they have unlimited defense from the United States of America, not only with the amount of money that we spend on the MOU, but also on top of that, we have directed assets to the region, even in the 12-day war and obviously in the last 40 days as well in Operation Epstein's Fury. So, it's a unlimited billions of dollars that we are wasting away. Tens of billions of dollars worth of assets have been destroyed in the region. And
we have dead American soldiers.
Yeah, and we've
that are
dead
coming
American
back
soldiers
in caskets. Their families are going to be devastated for the rest of their lives.
And
see, all of these are good reasons, but I think that even politically, just messaging wise, it's easier to say no arms for Israel than to say no offensive arms to Israel, and then we have to go into some big debate on the House floor of what constitutes an offensive weapon versus a defensive weapon. I think that it's just much cleaner and easier to sell to people if you just say no weapons to Israel of any kind. So that's another thing.
All of that because Donald Trump was the only president dumb enough to get goaded into taking action and follow through on Benjamin Netanyahu's agenda that he's been very open about for 40 years. I mean, he openly admitted this is what I wanted for 40 years, and Trump did it. I'm so eternally grateful. It's obviously pointless.
Well, Netanyahu, I think, counted he bet on at least finding one or two dumb people who would become president of the United States that he could get them to go to war for him.
Yeah.
One was Bush that took us to Iraq. And then now it's Trump that took us to Iran.
What do you make of this becoming the new litmus test? And now you have even J Street as of today coming out in favor of congresspersons that they back, openly stating that they don't make a distinction between defensive and offensive weapons in terms of aid as well. What do you think that says? Is it just a reflection of how much the environment has shifted and it's J Street trying to find a more manageable way to continue defending Israel? Or is it something else?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe, obviously, a lot has changed since the genocide in Gaza. Support for Israel, essentially doesn't really exist, especially within the Democratic base. So it makes sense that if you are running for a political position, whether it's Congress or for the
but they sure as hell tried to pretend like it did for as long as they possibly could. There's some of them still are trying to pretend like they're this is all gonna pass and everybody's gonna suddenly become pro-Israel again, and they're just living in la la land, man. It is not gonna happen.
presidency and you're a Democrat and you might find yourself in a competitive Democratic primary, that's going to be at least where people start the conversation. Our relationship with Israel is part of that conversation. Whether you are okay in continuing to give this $3.8 billion annually to Israel or not, that's going to be part of the conversation. I believe we should also go further and say, yes, are you committed to ending the impunity that we provide to Israel internationally? Because accountability will never come to Israel as long as the United States has that veto power to stop them from, being held accountable. As long as we are sanctioning people at the ICJ and the ICC who want to prosecute Israel for its crimes, Israel will continue to.
I'm telling you, man, if you want to win the presidential nominee, if you want to win the presidency, you just have to be the most, have the most base takes on Israel. You have to be I'm telling you, I think my messaging that I laid out earlier of not only do I want to not fund their offensive weapons, I want to sanction Israel, I want to invade Israel. I think that that would play pretty fucking good, honestly, because so many people, even independents and stuff, are even if it's not coming from a place of Palestinian emancipation, they're just so tired of Israel's just constantly humiliating us on the world stage. I mean, I'm tired of it too, but I'm kind of I don't really see Israel as separate from America at all. I see Israel as an extension of America. So essentially we're just humiliating ourselves is the way that I see it. But I think a lot of people just cannot stand seeing, us just be constantly, used and abused and humiliated by Israel every single day.
Commit international crime.
And they want to see Israel be punished in some meaningful way.
Yeah. And so I do believe we should also be pushing people to say this is not okay. And I am no longer going to allow our country to be used to shield a country that constantly commits international crimes and constantly kills civilians without any accountability and with the impunity that they have.
Yeah. This conversation is actually more important than ever before because there's a 10-point ceasefire plan that the Iranian side
believes in.
Just sent to the Americans. And right now there's a conversation taking place in Islamabad and Pakistan. We have reporting from the Financial Times and numerous other outlets that show that America was the one who actually really pushed for the ceasefire, considering that they failed to achieve any of their military objectives.
Well, and the question of why though is also, why now is also interesting, and I do think it has to do with the interceptors. And I always thought that Iran was going to keep going past the point of the interceptors running out. I think that was going to happen very shortly, right? So I was a little surprised in that regard that they agreed to talks with America. I think that maybe that might have a lot more to do with China potentially behind the scenes pushing for it. I'm not 100% there hasn't been any, as far as I know, any confirmed reporting that China was doing that, but I do something I think pushed them to enter these negotiations that I don't even know if they're going to be real negotiations or just a temporary pause so that America can rearm and start bombing again. But yeah, something kind of pushed them to enter it, and I would guess maybe it was that.
Even though Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth kept claiming over and over again their Navy is destroyed, their launching capabilities have been significantly attrited. None of that was true, obviously, and they still control the Strait of Hormuz. One of the key provisions in that deal was a demand for a ceasefire in Lebanon. Well, the Iranian side actually said the entire axis of resistance, which would include Gaza as well. However, in the immediate aftermath of that, there was additional reporting that came out that Benjamin Netanyahu actually called Donald Trump personally and said, no, we're not stopping bombing Lebanon. And Donald Trump simply said, keep it low key, which is so indecent and so
It's
ridiculous.
annoying.
But Benjamin Netanyahu objectively did
See,
not keep
humiliation after humiliation for America, dude, is insane.
it low key. Killed 300 plus Lebanese civilians in a matter of 10 minutes. One of the most heinous war crimes.
They were very proud of it.
Yeah, and openly talking about how they had a right to do it as well. And this was done, by my estimations, specifically to destroy this ceasefire process, which Israel does not want. They've made it very clear. They were very frustrated. Israel was not even let in on the fact that there was a ceasefire deal that was imminent, at least according to what they were saying. This shows that Donald Trump has to restrain Israel. Otherwise, there is no real negotiation at all.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that when you say that, I think of is the fact that Israel is historically known for breaking ceasefires.
Yeah. You cease, we fire.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm not surprised. And obviously the administration shouldn't be surprised. It is hard to believe when you have the president's son-in-law and his golfing buddy that they would have any serious conversation in restraining Israel, in holding them accountable, in prioritizing what might be beneficial for the American people that Israel might object to. To me, I see those negotiations and I see them prioritizing what Netanyahu might be interested in instead of prioritizing what might be in the best interest of Americans and our assets.
I do think they're potentially, and this is kind of what happens at the end stages of fascism, right? Because at the end stages of fascism, you really get the ascendance of the stupidest people. Like only the most unintelligent, stupid people rise to the top when you get closer to the end of a fascist regime. And so what I think they might be like to some extent overplaying their hand in their support for Israel, and that they might still believe that somehow Israel is going to succeed or come out of this in any sort of strategically victorious position, where all of the signs are pointing to Israel coming out of this completely decimated, unable, they're going to be it almost, I don't know, they're going to be so politically toxic, so militarily weakened, just a shell of what they once were before they decided to get into this war. And we saw all of the limits of America and Israel's military capabilities. I don't think that they're going to be as I just don't think that they're going to be, I think that they're going to be set back pretty far. And I think that they might be the people in charge might just be not able to see the actual wins of what's going to happen after this, because this is a sea change moment in terms of world politics as well right now. So Iran is emerging as a new world superpower as we speak, with what they've been able to get America to agree with in this, or agree to negotiate on in this ceasefire. And we'll see where it goes, but yeah, they've proven that America is incapable of defeating what used to be a middle power, what seems to be rising as a global power in Iran and becoming the regional hegemon. So I think they're just really not understanding what's happening right now.
That are in the region.
Yeah, Murtaza was saying, report on this. There's a term in the Mossad for people who are not directly affiliated with the state of Israel, but are helpers. And the way that they're referencing Witkoff and Kushner inside of Israel now, and inside of the Israeli government, is as helpers, sympathetic figures that are not exactly are not exactly placing the priorities of even saving face for America at this point ahead of what the larger Israeli goal is here.
Yeah.
So my question, I guess, is one, where do you see us going from here? And will J.D. Vance be the brilliant diplomat who will bring about a ceasefire, a complete cessation of hostilities, and what could Congress do to limit the powers of this this administration?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think JD is going to be successful, and whatever success he claims is most likely not his. It is not surprising that the president agreed to this 10-point deal that the Iranians submitted after they rejected, right, the 10-point deal that we'd offered to them. And that 10-point deal that he accepted was one that was already on the table 2 weeks prior to when it was accepted. And so I can just see them probably accepting something exactly like what we have right now, and then doing what they've been doing and say the Strait of Hormuz is open or will soon be open, even though it still remains closed. And the Iranians are now charging any vessel that comes through $2 million that they weren't charging before. I can see, as soon as he announces some sort of plan or a deal, Netanyahu going on TV and saying he knows nothing about it and there's not going to be anything that stops them, which he is accustomed to doing. He did that to Blinken every single time Blinken went, and try to beg them to agree to some deal. So I can see the United States continuing to get humiliated. I can see, Netanyahu continuing to lose it, and I believe we will find ourselves in the same position in a few months.
How do you feel about
and what can Congress do? Obviously, we are been pushing for a war powers resolution. Mm-hmm. We weren't able to get it done before Congress went on its recess.
Yeah, because they held the vote. They didn't put it forward. Yeah, because they were cowards, and they should have done it way before the war even started. Like, this is so frustrating, man. And think about like the messaging that they could be out there doing right now if they had just like gotten people on the record as like being against the war back then. And the problem is just that the Democrats, they wanted this war too, and it's so annoying. We need an actual anti-war party.
Says for us to go to our districts.
Do you feel like that was deliberate? Like the timing of that was rather strange.
No,
me,
it was deliberate, but not in the way that you think. We were short members. We had a member whose father passed away, who couldn't be available to take a vote. We had another member whose wife was having a surgery. Life happens, right? Obviously, we're members of Congress, but we also have families. We also have lives.
But why? Okay, I mean, but why didn't they explain that then? Nobody explained that to the American people. Like, if that was true, they should have explained it. And also, even if they're not there, can you not still bring a vote to the floor? Like, whether it passes or not, like, yes, it would be great if it passed. I don't think it was going to pass regardless, but still, just to get people's names on record. Like, I don't understand that.
That, sometimes that emergency things happen. And so we were short just on the Dem side for members, I believe. And I do believe that when we get there next week or Tuesday, that hopefully all of these members are able to come back and that we're able to get, I expect probably one or two on the Republican side that might be ready to say, yes, we have to check the power that the president thinks he has, and we have to reclaim our congressional.
Which all of this is, by the way, kind of stupid because he's already breaking the law by going into this war in the first place. Like, you don't, it's so annoying to me. It's like, okay, the president breaks the law. Okay, now Congress needs to create a piece of legislation to try and stop him, like retroactively stop saying that was actually illegal, that he broke the law, and then be like, okay, now he can't break the law again, and then he's just going to break the law. Like, the true thing to do is, like, he breaks the law, okay, you impeach him, or he breaks the law, you throw him in prison. Like, he decided to go to war without Congress's approval, well, then he goes to prison. Like, that's how a functioning society would behave. If the president decides to just break the law, then like that, then yes, he would go to prison. But I or at the very least, the courts would stop him immediately. Like immediately after he declared war, there would be a court order saying, "Oh, you have to stop this war until we can, until we can adjudicate whether this is constitutional or whatever." Like, I mean, that's also that, like, or that's like, I guess how technically it should go. But this whole like we're going to retroactively come like say, oh, it's actually Congress's responsibility to declare this particular war, and so it must stop now, is just like that's not how it's supposed to work.
No power.
How would you rate the current the current statements coming from the leadership of the party, and just like some of the presidential hopefuls, even as far as how they've communicated thus far? Because one of the things I saw from, for example, Chris Murphy was this attitude about how Donald Trump had failed on all fronts, which is true.
Yeah.
But it almost came across as though he was agitating for more war rather than like using the diplomatic route as the alternative to what Donald Trump was doing. It almost felt like there was a demand for more war and more destruction to continue fighting in Iran. What do you feel like the Democrats are sufficiently criticizing the Trump administration on its war with Iran?
I don't, because this has to be a war that you oppose on principle, not on the logistics of the way that it's carried out, or whether it is too soon, whether you don't have enough information. The principle should be we shouldn't start a war with another country.
Yes.
And we haven't been attacked. There's no bombs that have dropped on U.S. soil. None of our allies have been attacked by Iran. There isn't an actual threat that Iran has posed that is imminent. And so the idea that we can go to this war and then you would have Democrats who are supposed to be on the opposition litigating on the tactics of the war, and instead of just saying this is wrong, it is morally wrong, this is a choice of war, that we had no business being in this war. We have no business in spending the billions of dollars.
And also, to be clear, I don't care if you go out and criticize how stupid they are and how poorly executed this war was or whatever. I do that all the time. But my starting position is that it was an illegal and immoral war of choice that shouldn't have been entered into. And if you do not center that as a part of your conversation, especially as a politician, like as somebody who is out there supposed to be representing the people, their constituents, then yeah, that like you're doing a bad job at messaging. You're doing a bad job at your job. Like, so yeah.
Spent on this war. There is no business in us subjecting our service members to the level of danger we have subjected them to, and there is no business in having Americans die on a war that wasn't necessary or morally just.
Yeah, it's the process argument.
Yeah, it's
the
disgusting.
Argument that is most commonly utilized by people who want to make it seem like they are against the actions, but are understanding of the overall goals.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that I've found to be very frustrating with the way that a lot of electeds communicate on this issue. They did this with Venezuela as well, where they'll say, "Oh, well, Maduro's a brutal tyrant. I just didn't like the way that Donald Trump kidnapped him."
Yeah.
But that's the whole point. Like, Donald Trump is the guy who breaks things, but he gets the job done. So if you're agreeing with the
terrible messaging,
fact that like his overall goal was correct in that instance, then you're not actually sufficiently countering the things that Trump is doing, that you don't really have a disagreement at all. And the process argument seems the exact same. How much of that is because, by your estimation, how much of that is because they truly agree with going to war with Iran, and then but also are happy that it was Trump that did it, so that now they know that they don't have to be anchored by that decision. Now it's not around their neck. It's something that they can tie to the Trump administration to win out marginal electoral victories. And how much of that is actually because they are genuinely afraid of coming across like they're not war hawks, because they think this will look like the vote to refuse to go to war with Afghanistan?
I mean, I think the latter, right? There is a huge part of the DC Beltway that is constantly putting the dove and the hawk against one another, right? Which one are you? And I believe that gets rid of any sort of moral clarity or principle or just even the articulation of an ideology that looks at the way we should interact with the rest of the world. And that's why you get reactions that are almost always not that far from the thing that they are trying to condemn, right? It's almost like I condone, but I just condemn the way in which you did it, right? I condone, but I condemn the way in which you've stated that sentence.
Yeah.
And I do think that a lot of these people in Washington, D.C. don't spend a lot of time thinking about these issues. There isn't a huge debate on where people's moral center is when it comes to national security or when it comes to international affairs or foreign policy. It's often like, okay, here's the starting point. Who's saying this and who's doing this? And then how can I squeeze myself somewhere in between? We have this concept of the sandwich. It's like a political speak in Washington. That's what a lot of the consultants will say to you. And it's like where you start with saying like, I survived war, and like something about the actual like policy that you want to grab, and then say, I don't really want to see these things, but sometimes bad things happen.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it's just like you didn't really say anything.
Yeah.
But that's the safe way in which these people try to tell people to speak, because no one really wants to ever be on the full record. And that's why, like, oftentimes when Trump just says the thing,
it's cowardice. That's just cowardice. She's just describing the concept of cowardice. They don't have moral clarity. They don't have moral convictions, and so they put out some mealy-mouthed half ideology that doesn't make any sense to anybody. And that's the exact reason that nobody fucking likes the Democrats. She's literally just straight up describing exactly why nobody likes the Democrats, is because they always do that shit. Republicans, at the very least, like, their ideology is horrible, but they go out there and they message on that ideology and they stand for that ideology full-throatedly, right? And I think that's what a lot of us on the left want our actual Democrats to do, is go out there, stop giving these half answers where you're not saying anything, have an ideology, have a moral conviction. And even if I'm not particularly aligned with you on every single moral conviction that you have, I would much rather see you be out there fighting for something that you believe in and like know that you're willing to do that, than see you come out and give like a complete token half answer, like not non-answer to a particular question or whatever
thing that is on his mind. People are just like, oh, you're not supposed to speak like that. You're not supposed to do that. Like, to me, it's not the way he's speaking. To me, it's the problem in what he is saying.
Yeah.
It's not taking offense in what, awful language he uses, but it's taking offense in this ideology that he's expressing, in this policy view that he's expressing, in the way in which he sees the world and how he wants America to function when it comes to other people.
Yeah. Trump's speech patterns and the way he communicates, I think, is precisely the reason why a lot of Americans find him to be genuine, because there is an honesty in the way he talks. Even if he is objectively being dishonest in most of those circumstances, there is a directness to his speech. It's much more deliberate. And I think the way that a lot of politicians communicate, especially those who've been around DC for quite a while, they come across as inauthentic. And I've been trying to get this across to as many Democrats as I possibly can, to stand on their moral convictions and to be bold and to be brave in an effort to change
That's exactly why when you stand down or you change your opinion on things like trans people or whatever, like Democrats who have like, engaged in so much identity politics that they like, people actually believed that the Democratic Party was like pro-trans or whatever. And I mean, they're much more so than Republicans, but they were primarily using identities as a like substitute for actual, material policies like that affect people's material conditions. But anyway, it's exactly why when you flip flop on that, when all of a sudden you're like, well, yeah, actually, I don't know if all this trans stuff, it is kind of getting out of control or whatever. As soon as you start flip flopping on that, you seem even less authentic to everybody. Even the people that you're trying to win over by becoming a reactionary or whatever are going to be like, well, if you were telling me this whole time that you were for that, and now all of a sudden you're saying we're right, why on earth would I trust that you actually believe that anyway? I'm just going to stick with the guy who's always hated trans people instead of you who are just now starting to hate trans people, like and I don't know, it's such a terrible like self-defeating, like does that like you want to lose sort of way to go about politics that they really, really got to stop doing that shit.
The way that people perceive the broader National Democratic Party. However, I don't think I've seen many electeds do that, with the exception of obviously yourself, Rashida Tlaib, and some others. Is there any way to get Democrats to change this? Because instead of listening to that, or instead of even like clearly communicating their anger and resentment, clearly communicating the resentment that the voters feel, not just Democrats either, but independents and even some Republicans as well. Democrats, or at least some Democrats, have spent the last couple of weeks yelling about me instead. And there's this weird allegiance.
Priorities.
Yeah, there's this weird allegiance that's taking shape right now
I don't think
in
I'm
front of
gonna
our
be able to
eyes that
beat
I
this.
find very fascinating, where it's the RNC and it's the Republican Party coming up with clips that they can materialize, that they can like push out through like New York Post and all these other like right-wing dish rags. And then, Jewish Insider and the ADL and Third Way and all these other No Labels, another one, will then take that message to more pliant Democrats that are centrist Democrats or backed by certain corporations or have these same big donors, and they will get these Democrats to basically say whatever these groups want them to say. Why do you think that's happening? Do you think it's because there's a massive sea change and they refuse to reckon with that and instead want to distract people away from that? Or is this a way to like potentially bully the base without actually calling out their own voters, by identifying someone that they perceive to be vulgar enough to be able to attack? What do you think is going on there?
I mean, one, they all have the same donor base.
Yeah.
Right. And so, the people that they're spending most of their time, in their breakfast meetings or their receptions, like these are the same people, whether it's, these reporters that you're talking about and the orgs that like fund their reporting or whoever owns them, to the people who are funding Third Way or, the Democratic establishment, are the same as who funds the Republican establishment. A lot of them have, similar donors. But I would also say that, you have a big name. And so for a lot of these people, it's a clickbait. I joke sometimes that the New York Post has a quota of the number of articles they have to write on me in order for there to be enough clicks for them to generate.
These slow zooms are insane on this video. I mean, I haven't pulled it up or whatever, but I'm just like, I don't know. This is completely unnecessary, whoever was editing this.
The resources that they need, because there's no other way to explain writing the same, stuff that's just like over and over and over again. They're like, these are all the same kind of people, and that they will always go after the few that are on the left, who have enough of a following that they can try to take down, or those that don't care. I mean, I think like there's people who will try to explain or capitulate and do all kinds of stuff, and then there's the people who are like you and I, and it's like, okay, keep writing your garbage. I'm who I am, and I don't really care.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah, I guess that's that. Yeah, I got a little bit more time here before I'm gonna go see a movie, so I might just try and see how this run goes. I'll just switch over to pure gaming mode. I don't know if there's any way that I can like change my stream type, but whatever. So let's see if I can make any progress on this. I haven't been having very much luck when it comes to my Slay the Spire runs today, unfortunately. I mean, obviously, I don't claim to be very good at this or anything, so like I'm pretty casual about it, but so I'm sure that I'm making lots of mistakes and stuff, but it's hard to get a good run going, especially when the Ascension levels start getting higher. But let's see what we got. I think I can kill him here. Yeah, okay. And then we got what should I choose? Lose strength, apply weak. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go for probably a draw, like outmaneuver sort of situation, so we'll see what happens because of this guy. I mean, that's pointless to use on these dudes. Let's see, attack. And I'll take this guy out. 6 here. Get rid of that. Use that. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm probably not going to be able to finish another run before I go, so I'm probably just going to call it here. So, thank you all for watching. That was just a nice little interview, a nice, easy, casual Saturday that I don't have to clip a bunch of stuff from tomorrow. So, um, if you're watching the VOD, thanks for watching, as well. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. This has been Technically Clay, and the stream is technically over. Bye bye.